till Mark and Josh podcast.
Mark, I have a very serious question to ask you. What are the 5 best rap albums of the 90s?
Thank you so much for this question. Number 1, The Low End Theory. Wait, is this an order of best to worst, or just a general top 5?
No order.
Okay.
Just the 5 best.
Ready to Die, The Chronic, Doggy Style. I said Low End Theory, right? Yeah. What was Pac's first on Death Row?
All Eyes on Me.
All Eyes on Me. I was going to say Tupacalypse, but that wasn't. How about yours?
So for me, the 5 best rap albums of the 90s are Wu-Tang Clan, Enter the 36 Chambers, Tupac, Me Against the World, Bone Thugs and Harmony, East 1999. Life After Death by Notorious B.I.G. And, man, I'm going to be missing somebody out. Should have started with a top 10.
I think I can name the one that you're thinking of. It's Illmatic.
No, believe it or not.
What?
No, I like it. It's not that I don't like it. I just don't like it as much as other people like it. That's all. Illmatic is a great record. It's just it just doesn't make my top 5. I really don't know.
I mean, it's
maybe Big L, Lifestyles of the Poor and Dangerous. Because Big L,
it's great.
Big L is great. I love Big L. So maybe he should be making that list too.
You didn't name any West Coast guys other than Pac.
Oh, shit.
Chronic Style.
So this is why these lists,
is hard.
This
man.
is why these lists. I hate these lists because I can't narrow it down. Yeah, the Chronic should be on my list. Like I just can't.
And you forgot
Doggy Style should be on my list. It's just hard.
P.D. Pablo.
Yes, of course. P.T. Pablo.
So why? Okay, genuine question. Wu-Tang Clan. Tell me about your love of that, John. The question is, how much do you love the Wu-Tang Clan?
I love the Wu-Tang Clan quite a bit, but my whole thing with the Wu-Tang Clan is that I was very into Enter the 36 Chambers, and I was very into Wu-Tang Forever. And I paid attention to them afterward, but I feel like the chemistry of the group, you could feel it. Like their first 2, Wu-Tang's first 2 records, they were really good, and it felt like they wanted to be together. And then you could sense like rivalries within, and it's always been like that, where the egos conflict, and I just thought that the music was good after that, but it wasn't great anymore.
Yeah.
So like they were making 5-star stuff, and then it started to go to like 4, which is still better than just about everybody, but it just bummed me out because I know like what they're capable of.
Well, they came out hard.
Yeah.
Like that was so powerful.
I can't believe that album, I believe, 92 or 93 that album came out? Really think about that. That's crazy. You could listen to that now and it doesn't sound dated at all.
Credit to the RZA. He knew what he was doing.
What's going on in politics, Mark? What's got you concerned right now? What do you feel are like the biggest issues happening in the news right now that people should definitely be talking about, but the media is
like
not?
In a totally like a dead serious way?
In a dead serious way, yeah.
Kids in the cages, probably. That's the one that worries me the most. The immigrant kids, because that's not too far removed from having people who are citizens like that too. Anytime we put humans in a dehumanizing situation, that stuff spreads, and it's terrifying. You shouldn't put anybody in a cage, but you start with the immigrants who don't really speak English and who don't have any help, and eventually, maybe it's natural born or it's immigrants that are citizens that are here, but they're still not naturalized citizens, and then it goes to people who are citizens, and then it goes to political adversaries, and then it's just do what we say or we chuck you in a cage.
And it comes conveniently. Well, the caravan stuff.
Yeah,
comes conveniently. So right now the news media is trying to make it appear as though the borders are We're overwhelmed with the
Yeah.
borders. The United States is overwhelmed. Oh God, there's so many of them. We can't handle it.
There's a war down there.
And it's a battle. It's a war. And I don't know. It seems like a good excuse to start deploying military. You get that going now domestically. That's kind of weird.
Well, it's against the Constitution. You're not supposed to.
Oh, dude, the Constitution. It's a fucking myth. It's a fucking story we've told ourselves about this country.
It's all we got, though.
It's all we got, for sure. It's important. I'm not saying it's not, but when you have someone in power who just says whatever the fuck he wants to say and then sees it, just try to see if he can do it, I don't know. The whole Supreme Court is now in his pocket. That's weird. That's the supreme law of the land. Who's coming in with the Constitution? Is there going to an eagle swoop down?
Uncle Sam.
Is Uncle Sam going to swoop down? That's all I'm saying. Is that right? The Constitution is held up by the fucking Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Now, the Supreme Court is manipulated in some way. They could just make up their own shit.
You just shove it down your throat.
And shove it down your fucking throat. And what are you going to do about it? Oh, you want to do something about it? Oh, well, hey, we got a cage for you.
And here's a gun.
But
that's what. How about you? What are you concerned about? What other topics? I mean, I know you're concerned about the kids in the cages. We all are, but what's your...
I'm concerned about the blue wave business. I know Democrats are really hopeful that there'll be this blue wave, all these young voters, all these minority voters really coming out in record numbers, but I think that's why you're seeing the voter purge that's happening.
Like in Georgia.
In Georgia, Colorado, now they're finding out stuff. Florida, I believe, is also there too.
It's probably every state. Let's be
It's
honest.
probably every state. Yeah. The thing about the thing that concerns me about voter manipulation is I would like to know, I actually don't know these numbers, so I don't want to speak out, but I'd like to know how many of the ballots are digital versus paper.
Mm-hmm.
And then, a lot of people are like, oh, there's paper ballots, but if you really want to scam something, you go all the way. There's a way around that. Oh, there's paper ballot. I can't scam anyone and manipulate votes because there's paper ballots. It's like, no, you can fucking... Who's counting them? Mm-hmm. Who's counting those votes? What would stop you from having your hand up their butt? Like, they're your puppet. Like, so
I think that's
the
like
point is that there's so much money involved in this. That, so billions of dollars at the national level. Like, if you're running for president, right? Mm-hmm. Like, there's billions of dollars spent on that, or over $1 billion. I think $1 billion each candidate, or $2 billion. Like, we're talking billions with a B, dude. And I just don't. If you're going to spend that kind of money building up to the election, like, how much will you spend to actually fuck with shit on the day of the election? Like,
just as much
hacking,
right?
and you can't tell me that the election is not tainted in any way.
They always are.
And the thing that's weird to me is that I don't know. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. I want everybody to vote still. I mean, fuck it. I mean, you gotta. The thing that I've learned about Jason, so this is a guy that we work for, Jason Ortiz. He's a campaign manager for Martha Marks.
Go Martha, we love you.
Candidate for the 20th District State Senate spot in Connecticut. And Mark and I have been doing video production for her and her campaign. And we feel as though that is like the best thing you can do. The best thing you can do is to get involved, especially at the local level. Those are the people that really have your back. At the national level, maybe these people in Washington don't have your backs, but the people who are actually amongst the people, they do care. And there is something that can be done, but it has to be civil. It can't be... We have limitations, unfortunately, in this world and in this country. And if you want to foment change in a positive way, unfortunately, it does have to come incrementally.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's why it takes courage to do it, because days are going to feel exhausting and pointless, and you're not going to, the realities of the world will definitely bum you out and depress you. And I think it's your job to filter a lot of that stuff, filter through it. Because if you recognize that the world is as bad as you think it is, and hopefully you don't, hopefully you have a positive outlook. But if you're like me and you try to look into everything, it starts to paint a picture that's very dark. All black's used. Just dumping black paint on the canvas. And you can become discouraged. So everybody should vote. Everybody should be active. And the thing about it is, too, is if the number one thing that we can do is we can try to hold these guys accountable who are in office. The issue is there's such a large chunk of the country that doesn't. If all of us did, or a good number of us, like paid attention to shit like we do football or sports, which I know is difficult, but if that were to happen, it would be more difficult for these politicians to do some of the bullshit they do because they do want to keep their seats. Eventually, they're going to get bought out by big corporations, but at least at the local level, if somebody comes in there that you don't like, you got to get them out of that seat. There needs to be a lot of people who care that want to remove somebody from power before they get too much or before things go wrong. So if at the local level we kept a lot of these people in check, I think it would help a lot.
Well, they impact our lives greatly, more so than on a national level. I think like the things that really matter in your area, you might be able to get somebody's ear, at least on the local level. You can't, like us, we can't call Blumenthal and be like, hey, bro, roads are fucked up by my house.
Can't call Mitch McConnell and be like, what's up, brah?
What's up, brah? Like,
I hit a pothole. It's like, no,
help me out, brah.
People like Martha. And the cool thing about Martha, right? Martha is a great candidate. She wants to legalize marijuana for revenue generation. She wants to start tolling. And at first I had a problem with the tolls, but then I thought about, well, Massachusetts, all those other states do it.
Everybody's doing it.
Connecticut's desperate for revenue. You can't complain. When it comes to tolls, people can't complain too much because either you want to have your social safety net available to you when you get older and you want to try to provide the pensions and you know, those things were promised. You want to try to maintain the order in some way for the people, but the budget is so out of whack that now it becomes super difficult to do that. And I think Martha has a plan to generate revenue, which a lot of people, you ask them and they don't have any plan at all. So the candidate that Martha is running against, a guy by the name of Paul Formica, he had nothing. He did not. I laughed at the end of the debate because he did not lay out one detailed
anything.
Detailed anything. There was no detail in his words.
No, he did say after the election he'd look into it. Remember that was
there was
one
a
of the
study
answers.
for that.
There's a study for that.
And Martha was endorsed by former President Barack Obama.
Wait, Barack Hussein Obama? For those out there who know,
Martha was one of 16 candidates in the state of Connecticut who received Barack Obama's endorsement, which is big.
Oh, dude, I've never been endorsed by President Barack Obama. That's
a huge endorsement. And the Democratic Party seems to be behind her full steam.
And she's a good person. Say what you want. She genuinely cares about people. You know, she's with a nurse for 30 years, so it's like that's just built into her DNA. I respect that. It's hard to care.
Mark, I know that this is sort of disrespectful, but it's a trend of every podcast. I have to go pee. The sponsor for this podcast, I know that you were given the sponsor, right?
It was given to me written on a scroll, tied up with a bow.
All right, I'm gonna use the bathroom.
Yep.
And by that I mean I'm gonna go outside and I'm gonna take a leak by some trees and enjoy myself. Try to get a nice
hit that
fresh air. I'm gonna hit that fresh air.
Hit that
hard.
Fresh air, brah. Hit that fresh air.
And hit up our sponsor because, you know, I don't need to say anything, but they got the
money. Got the
purse strings. Huh?
If you know what I mean. I'm so glad that we have this time together. So this podcast is very controversial. This podcast is brought to you by the Koch brothers. Now, I know what you're thinking. We just endorsed some candidate that's Democratic. That's fine. But the Koch brothers, they have a vision for the future. And it's a vision I can get behind because I see myself as a temporarily disgraced millionaire. I'm going to get there one day, and I am going to make a lot of money, and I want the tax rate to be low when I do. So anytime a corporate tax breaks or, you know, I want to give them money because eventually that means I'm going to get money. And I'm not sure on the math about how giving them a bunch of money is going to eventually give me a bunch of money. That doesn't matter. What matters is that when I get there, I'm going to be rich and I want a low tax rate. And I'm a business owner, and I also want low tax rate. So this podcast is brought to you by the Koch brothers.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, shout out to the Koch brothers.
We went big on this one. I wanted to make some real money, and I reached out.
Which brother did you hit up?
Tony.
Who's Tony?
Tony Koch.
I thought it was David, and whatever the other guy's name was.
Oh shit, that's not. I might have been bamboozled. We might be sponsored by the wrong Koch brothers. I thought it was the Republican ones.
How do you spell it?
Koche.
Bro, the Koch brothers is spelled Koch. Dude, you got swindled. Who is Tony Koch? What did he say he was? What Koch brother did you speak to?
He's Italian. He's the Italian guy.
There is no Italian Koch brother. What did he sound like?
Hey, fucking, my name is Tony Koch. And he promised me money, and he gave me a meatball. And I just thought isn't that the GOP?
Isn't that the Italian contract? You just a handshake with a meatball. You just crush a meatball. It's a meatball handshake. And
that's what happened. Well, John, I thought I was bringing us a big sponsor, so
you signed a contract. When you did that meatball handshake, you signed a contract.
That's an Italian contract?
You signed it in blood. That's their blood.
It's the Italian.
It's ragu. So
we're indebted to Tony Koch.
Where did you meet this guy, Tony Koch?
Fucking behind the pizzeria.
What do you mean behind a pizzeria?
Yeah.
Why would a dude who basically owns most of the United States?
I thought he liked Italian food. I just caught him in the alley.
In the alley?
Yeah, he was wearing an apron.
The alley of a what? Were you guys near an Olive Garden?
He wasn't.
What's going on?
I met him behind an Olive Garden.
Your story is getting weirder, dude.
Listen, John, I was looking for revenue behind an Olive Garden. The guy named Tony came up, and he's like, hey, I got money for you. But I had to do some things, but we have a sponsor.
I love that so much. If you have a debut album, looking for revenue behind an Olive Garden. Looking for revenue behind an Olive Garden. Mark Floyd's debut record. You can get it now at Strawberries. Or you can get it at Nobody Beats the Wiz. Or you can get it at...
You can't even think of a place to sell records anymore.
Yeah.
Isn't that ridiculous? Tower Records? Does that exist?
Didn't even go to Tower.
Does that exist?
I went to a place called Strawberries. It was a chain. Sam Goody, I guess.
Oh, yeah. There was Sam Goody.
Shout out to Sam Goody. R.I.P.
R.I.P. to Sam Goody.
So I heard a rumor that you're trying to open a slew of rent-a-centers. Is this true, Mark?
Yeah, and it's different.
I can't, just so you know, for all those folks at home, or all those folks in the shower getting...
Wherever you're at.
Rent-a-center... I bought a stereo as a kid from a rent-a-center for like $500, which for me...
That's a lot
of money.
Like
not even in high school yet. That was a shit ton of money. And it was a stereo that was used, and it was a good stereo, but it had like a 50 disc changer.
What's so many discs?
I don't know, but it was cool. I liked watching it. I liked putting the light in there. I liked putting the disc in and then watching it rotate. I loved it. And the speakers were... it was one of those stereos where it was decent, but the speakers are really big.
Yeah,
so
like
you made you feel you thought that you had more sound than you did because they gave you some giant speakers.
And they were always chunky and built out so fucking big.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, fucking Sony explode.
But the sound wasn't the worst.
No.
And it was a price, but I bought it from Rent-A-Center, and the thing shit the bed on me like within months.
Seriously?
And I had no recourse for it.
Like how? Like the disc changer stopped working?
Yeah. Stop reading discs.
That's because everybody was fucking with it in the store, I bet. They turn it on and push the button, because you could do that, I assume, right? Mm-hmm. That's what I would do. I'd sit there and hit the button.
The motor, I actually paid $100 to have somebody fix it, and then it shit the bed again, and I'm like, fuck this shit.
Jesus. Terrible. Wait, had you paid it off already before it shit the bed?
Yeah, I paid it off.
That sucks.
I had the cash.
That sucks.
So Rent-A-Center, fuck you. You rip people out. That's not even the worst of you. You just exploit people. Like, I had cash at the time, but most people going into a Rent-A-Center, it's like, do you want to get this Zenith TV from 1991? It's about $50, but you could also pay $1 a month for the rest of your life.
Yeah. 45% interest rate.
Rent-A-Center. Do you want to have a bill on this? Do you want to be making payments on your television to the day you die and you're 20 now? Do you want to pay something off forever and never pay it off? Because the interest will just keep you swimming toward us, but you'll never get there.
Well, I understand radios and TVs and stuff, but you could do patio furniture and stuff. Can you imagine that? Like, I paid $1,200 for my patio furniture. It's about to get repossessed.
Come and repossess my patio. Do you think Rent-A-Center has gnomes? Imagine if you had a bunch of lawn gnomes. You woke up, your whole garden has been destroyed. Your lawn gnome's taken by Rent-A-Center. Premise for a movie: you're a repo guy at Rent-A-Center.
Seriously,
I'm in. I want to follow that guy with the camera.
100%. Because it was stupid shit. They did have like garden stuff, didn't they? Like you could actually get I don't know if about gnomes, but
there is something I want to discuss a little bit, which is that Jimmy, I'm not gonna say the last name.
Yep.
And a few of the cats from high school that I grew up with, they would steal lawn ornaments. There was a thing. There was a kick.
That was it? There was no money involved?
There was no money involved? No. They wouldn't sell them. They weren't making money off them. There was a kick, dude. We're just out of the sheer joy and fun of stealing gnomes and things. They would go do this. Like, Jimmy hit me up one time, and he told me that they were going to do that. And I actually thought about it, and I'm like, that does sound like a lot of fun.
It does. No, for sure.
It sounds like a lot of fun, but I think I was busy. I had something else to do. It's like, no, I don't have time for this to steal lawn gnomes. But I just remember thinking it was great. And I remember we'd go to parties, and some of those lawn gnomes would make an appearance.
Good.
And you'd see all this lawn ornament shit that they would steal. Oh, man. You know what I always thought? Like, if the Beatles, after they broke up, like, I thought about, like, George Harrison. Like, you've had so much fame, and you've gotten your kick. Like, where else can you get your kicks? But if he was like a dude who was stealing lawn gnomes, and he got caught one day, and someone would just be like, "You fucking George Harrison? Like, why are you in my yard stealing my lawn ornaments, dude?" And he has to be like, "Well, this is how I get my kicks now."
It'd be fine though. He'd just pull out his guitar and just play like "While My Guitar Gently Weeps," and I'd be like, "Take it, take the gnome,
Go
please.
ahead, take the gnome, George.
By all
means.
means."
Can you get the Beatles back? Can you dig up?
John's a fucking asshole. Why was John such an asshole? Why? Anyways, that's off topic.
Why was Paul such an asshole?
Because
the real Paul
died. Because that's not the real Paul. That's my favorite conspiracy.
RuPaul.
Ooh,
I have a conspiracy. RuPaul
is the real Paul.
Yes.
That's a lot of plastic surgery. Holy shit.
The real Paul McCartney didn't want to be in the band anymore. He'd had enough.
He
wanted to be a woman.
Man.
Wanted to become a black woman.
Well, he's a man that.
Then he became a man.
But he dresses as a woman. I don't think there's like a trans thing going on with him.
But Paul McCartney,
right?
the original Paul McCartney, is now RuPaul McCartney.
Yeah, let's RuPaul.
And that's the bottom line, and that's the truth. Because I have data and facts, spreadsheets and facts
machines.
Fax machines. Oh God!
Where did we get from there? There was a question I wanted to ask you. We were at Rent-A-Center, then we went. Fuck it. That was quite the tangent.
Are you? But you're not going to start a Rent-A-Center, are you?
Well, it's a different kind of. It's actually we rent things from the Rent-A-Center and we rent them to you. Like we're an intermediary between Rent-A-Center because your credit's so bad you can't actually get it. You come to us. We rent it from Rent-A-Center. You rent it from us. So we're a Rent-A-Center.
I just noticed I've been swiveling in this chair, making all this creaking and cracking. If you hear that, all this creaking and cracking, it's me swiveling in a chair. I've just been swiveling.
Josh's been doing 360s the whole time.
Pretty much a swiveler. They call me the swiveler. I'm going to swivel ya.
John, I got a question for you.
Yep.
You played a little bit of Red Dead. What'd you think? Give me your just quick pass on that.
Red Dead Redemption 2 is one of the most immersive games I've ever laid eyes on. I think that the integration of story and the gameplay, because normally it would be like you see a story unfold in a game and it's like, fuck this shit. Not every game, right? Metal Gear had that, but it's rare when you have a game. So Metal Gear felt like you were watching a movie. Mm-hmm. That was like a cinematic epic, and that started a trend. And I think that Red Dead 2 sort of has that torch now, and it's been a while since that first game. So, I mean, the anticipation has been... And you can tell that they just laser focused on all these years developing this game.
What'd you think about that first level, like that first snow level? Like that very first...
Amazing. I feel like I'm in Hateful Eight.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like to me. It felt like Hateful Eight.
Mm-hmm.
Just the cinematic quality to it. The lighting. I like it. What do you think about it?
Oh, I was a huge fan of the first one, and so I've been waiting 10 years like everybody else, and I was blown away by the lighting effects. It was just, I've never seen that before in a game. Maybe I don't play enough games, but it was unbelievably, I couldn't get my eyes off of it. Like the details and the characters, everything was super well thought out. People joke about like, the horse testicles, they get smaller when it gets cold, and which is true, it's funny. But it's like the level of detail and everything. Like you can sit in the woods and just watch like animals interact with each other, and it's like a very realistic, very calming. You can fish in the game, and it's like, has that meditative quality to it. I mean, you can kill stuff too, but there's something about the atmosphere of the game that is like you want to spend time there. It feels so visceral.
It feels so real.
Yeah. I love it.
How would you feel about being in the Wild West where you could just kill people and you might probably get away with it? It's just every man for himself, the Wild West. That lawlessness.
It scares me because I would probably do it. I would probably find some validation for my actions and just act crazy. That's where my moral compass is, I guess. How about you?
So you're a terrible person who wishes he was in the lawless Wild West. It's era.
I appreciate it. I don't know. I don't think you should kill people, but I think it's like, there was a validation for killing people, right? Like you could go out and kill a guy, and if he drew his gun on you first, you were cool. I mean, you still killed the dude for the stupidest reason, possible, but I don't know. Different times, I guess.
I think that the thing that interests me most is that it would be really cool if all of these predictions about the economic collapse are true.
We go back to it?
And we revert back to just chaos. Looting houses, every man for himself. Hope you had a water supply there. Jack off. This is why they told you to stock up on shit. If we have one of those moments where you're going to need to have lots of water and food, and you need to have like a pantry full of stuff, that dark martial law scenario, I think that there's sort of a rush in that. I think everybody's so bored.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't become stars like they thought they would be because our generation was... We were lured in with the goods of our fathers and mothers, and we're told, oh, you guys will surpass even this. You guys will have everything. You'll have everything you ever desired. And then you don't. You're kind of like, fuck it. Let's set the whole fucking thing on fire.
Yeah. Start again. Let's do it over again.
Let's start again. This shit didn't work out. So
yeah,
it would be interesting if everything went to shit. And Red Dead reminds me of that type of scenario. Not that it's a martial law scenario, but it's a world in which... However you got to get by, you got to do it. If you got to kill a Pinkerton to get your money, so be it. That's how the game go. Every man for himself. There's nobody there that's going to save you. It's self-destiny.
Well, that's the way it always is, right? Right now we have like a thick layer between us and like that kind of lifestyle.
And the institutions weren't as influential.
Right.
Like you literally were out riding a horse in the wild. There were no institutions auditing you or holding you. You're off the grid, basically. You're wild in the land, just like the beasts are.
Mm-hmm. It's attractive. I think it's very attractive.
No contracts tethering you to your reality. No social security number.
Well, and all you had to do was tear up the contract. Like literally, there's no other copy of the contract. If you tear it up, they have no evidence. That's it. It's a different world.
You're one with nature. That's very freeing to me. Although I don't think we'll be one with nature now, obviously. If there's an apocalyptic scenario, I think it's just going to be weird and awful. It's not going to be like Wild West times because...
Some people will.
Some people will root. It also must have been awesome to be alive back in the day, back in the Wild West days of the 1800s, 1700s, anything before petroleum really hit, to be on this planet with such a low population where you have like just all these swaths of open land.
Space.
It's been unconquered and...
all these beautiful animals. But that's us. We live in this era, like this time period. Maybe it's not as great because we kind of romanticize it. But I think it would be fun to try. I thought about this the other night, making like a Westworld type of theme park without the robots, of course. But you could go like live out your little Wild West fantasies or whatever. Like that's actually very attractive to me. I would suck at it, but it'd be fun to try.
Mark, the 30 minutes is up. Is there anything that you'd like to say before we get out of here?
I'd like to thank people listening because they're awesome.
And I'd like to thank the people listening in the shower right now. Mark, here's a
Is
toast.
this the only? Is this podcast recommended for the shower? If we want people glistening,
If you want, take poops and listen to us, and shower, listen to us. That's what our podcast is best for.
Best for.
Poops and showers. Okay, everybody. Thank you very much.
Love you.
And I'll talk to you soon. Love you. Bye.
Bye.
Team Arkandjors podcast.